The Galactic Games begin. The Galactic Council had always dismissed Earth as a backwater, a planet whose inhabitants had barely scratched the surface of advanced technology. Yet, when the Galactic Games, a series of challenges designed to test the strength and ingenuity of different species, were announced, Earth was invited as a courtesy. The other species viewed humanity as little more than a curiosity, a participant that would be swiftly eliminated. Captain Collins, leading a team of Earth's finest, was undeterred. Alongside him were Ava Perez, an exobiologist with a knack for alien technologies, Marco Torres, a brilliant engineer known for his on-the-fly modifications, Kenji Sato, a combat specialist who had mastered zero-gravity warfare, and Naomi Oko, a strategic genius who saw patterns where others saw chaos. As they entered the arena, their alien competitors sneered. The first challenge was announced, a gravity manipulation course designed to throw even the most seasoned warriors off balance. The aliens glided effortlessly, their advanced suits compensating for the gravitational shifts. The humans, however, stumbled and faltered, much to the amusement of the spectators. But what the aliens didn't understand was humanity's ability to adapt. Naomi quickly observed the patterns in the gravity shifts, her mind racing to devise a strategy. "Follow my lead," she instructed her team. One by one, they began to navigate the course with increasing precision, leveraging their suits' limited capabilities with their own agility and quick thinking. The aliens watched in disbelief as the humans, who had started as the laughingstock of the competition, began to catch up. The laughter turned to murmurs of concern as Collins and his team cleared the final obstacle, finishing the course not in first place but far from last. The seed of doubt had been planted in the minds of the spectators and competitors alike. Collins knew they had a long way to go, but this was just the beginning. The Galactic Games were not just about physical prowess, they were about strategy, adaptation, and the will to survive. And in those areas, humanity was unmatched. As the arena prepared for the next challenge, the human team regrouped, their confidence bolstered by their unexpected success. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not to be underestimated. And as the crowd's jeers turned to cautious applause, Collins couldn't help but smile. They had made their first mark, but the real test was yet to come. The next challenge, outwitting the alien champions, with the first challenge behind them, the human team quickly realized that the Galactic Games were more than just a test of physical ability. The games were a psychological battle, designed to push participants to their limits and expose any weaknesses in their resolve. The second challenge was announced, a tactical simulation that would pit each team against a holographic enemy force, replicating some of the most infamous battles in the galaxy. The aliens had centuries of experience with advanced military tactics and technology, and they were confident this round would expose the humans for the novices they believed them to be. Naomi Oko, the team's strategist, analyzed the battlefield as the simulation began. The terrain was treacherous, with shifting sands and towering rock formations that could be both cover and a trap. The enemy forces were numerous, outnumbering the human team by at least 3-1, but Naomi wasn't intimidated. She had studied the tactics of these alien species, and she knew that their confidence would be their downfall. "Stick to the high ground," Naomi ordered, her voice calm and measured. "We need to force them into choke points and use their own numbers against them." The team moved swiftly, following Naomi's lead. Marco Torres, the engineer, quickly rigged up a series of makeshift explosives from the simulation's available resources, setting traps in strategic locations. Kenji Sato, the combat specialist, took up a sniper position, ready to pick off any enemies who ventured into their kill zone. As the alien forces advanced, they were met with a barrage of fire from seemingly all directions. The traps Marco had set detonated with precision, sending shockwaves through the enemy ranks and causing chaos in their formations. Kenji's sniper shots rang out, each one finding its mark with lethal accuracy. The alien champions watching from the sidelines couldn't believe their eyes. These humans, who they had expected to be overwhelmed within minutes, were holding their own and then some. The holographic battlefield was a scene of carnage, with alien forces falling left and right, unable to break through the human defenses. But it wasn't just brute force that won the day. Naomi's strategy had anticipated every move the aliens made, predicting their tactics and countering them before they even realized what was happening. As the final wave of enemies fell, the simulation ended, and the human team stood victorious. The arena was silent for a moment, the alien spectators too stunned to react. Then, slowly, applause began to build, hesitant at first, but growing in intensity. The human team had not just won, they had outwitted and outmaneuvered their opponents in a way that no one had expected. Collins turned to his team, pride swelling in his chest. "We're not just here to survive," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We're here to win." As they left the arena, the human team knew that they had made an even bigger impact than in the first challenge. The aliens were no longer laughing. They were beginning to realize that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, a force that could not be easily dismissed. But Collins and his team also knew that with every victory, the stakes would only get higher. The other competitors would not take their losses lightly, and the challenges would become even more dangerous. Yet, despite the odds, the humans were ready. They had already proven that they could adapt and overcome, and they were determined to show the galaxy what Earth was truly capable of. The rising tension, unseen enemies, as the humans prepared for the third challenge, tension hung thick in the air. Word of their unexpected victories had spread quickly, and it was clear that their success had rattled the other competitors. The human team was no longer seen as underdogs, but as legitimate threats, and with that recognition came danger. The third challenge was a complex survival simulation set in a hostile alien environment. The teams would be dropped onto a barren, desolate planet, its surface riddled with craters and treacherous terrain. The goal was simple: survive for 24 hours while navigating deadly obstacles and avoiding the planet's aggressive native wildlife. However, the real challenge was something far more insidious. As the human team descended onto the planet, they immediately noticed something was off. The air was thick with a toxic haze, and the temperature fluctuated wildly, going from blistering heat to bone-chilling cold in minutes. But it wasn't just the environment that posed a threat. As they moved through the rugged landscape, they began to feel a creeping sense of unease, an unseen presence watching their every move. Lena Ivanov, the team's security expert, was the first to voice her suspicions. "We're not alone here," she said, her eyes scanning the horizon. "I've been monitoring our surroundings, and I'm picking up signs of interference. Someone or something is tracking us." Naomi frowned, her mind racing. "Are we dealing with the local wildlife? Or could it be another team?" "Could be both," Lena replied. "But my money's on the latter. The aliens want us out of the competition, and they're not above playing dirty to make it happen." Collins nodded, his expression grim. "We need to stay sharp. If they're trying to sabotage us, we'll give them a fight they won't forget." As they pressed on, the environment became increasingly hostile. Torrential acid rain began to pour from the sky, forcing the team to seek shelter in a nearby cave. But the cave was no safe haven. It was a labyrinth of twisting tunnels and hidden dangers, and the team had to navigate carefully to avoid falling into deadly traps. It was in this dark, claustrophobic environment that the human team encountered their true enemy. As they moved deeper into the cave system, they were ambushed by a group of alien mercenaries, elite fighters sent by a rival team to eliminate them. The mercenaries were heavily armed and well coordinated, their attacks swift and brutal. But the humans were ready. Collins and Kenji took the lead, their reflexes honed by years of combat training. They returned fire with deadly precision, using the cave's narrow passages to their advantage. Naomi and Lena worked together to outmaneuver the mercenaries, setting up traps and ambush points that turned the alien fighters' own tactics against them. Marco, meanwhile, used his engineering skills to rig the environment, causing cave-ins and triggering gas pockets that disoriented and incapacitated their attackers. The battle was fierce and unforgiving, but the human team fought with a tenacity that left their enemies stunned. One by one, the mercenaries fell, their advanced technology and superior numbers no match for the humans' ingenuity and determination. When the dust finally settled, the human team emerged victorious, battered but unbroken. The cave, now silent except for the distant rumble of the planet's unstable geology, was littered with the remnants of the alien ambush. As they regrouped, Collins looked at his team, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "They're not playing fair anymore," he said. "We're not just competitors to them, we're targets." Lena nodded, her face set in a grim mask. "We need to be ready for anything. If they're willing to go this far, who knows what they'll try next." Naomi, ever the strategist, spoke up. "We'll use this to our advantage. They think they can break us by playing dirty, but all they've done is show us their hand. We'll be ready for whatever comes next." As the team prepared to continue their journey through the hostile environment, they knew that the challenges ahead would only get tougher. But they also knew that they were stronger together, and that no matter what the galaxy threw at them, they would face it head-on, as a team and as representatives of Earth. The ultimate challenge, the gauntlet. The human team had survived the ambush, but they knew the real test was yet to come. The Galactic Games were designed not just to test physical endurance, but to push the very limits of a team's mental and emotional resilience. The next challenge, dubbed the Gauntlet, was rumored to be the most grueling of them all, a trial that had broken many teams in the past, both physically and psychologically. As the human team prepared for the Gauntlet, they were briefed on what little was known about the challenge. The Gauntlet was a series of interconnected trials, each one designed to exploit the specific weaknesses of the competitors. It was a test of endurance, strategy, and most importantly, trust. The team gathered around Collins as he reviewed the mission details. "We've come this far by sticking together," he began, his voice steady and commanding. "The Gauntlet is designed to tear teams apart, to make us doubt ourselves and each other. But if we trust in our training and in each other, we'll get through this." Kenji, ever the optimist, grinned. "Sounds like a walk in the park, boss. We faced worse, right?" Lena, always the realist, frowned. "We can't underestimate this. The Gauntlet is different. It's not just about survival. It's about breaking you from the inside out." Naomi nodded in agreement. "Lena's right. We need to stay focused, and we need to be ready for anything. If they're trying to break us, we need to be stronger than ever." The team's resolve was set as they entered the Gauntlet. The first trial was a labyrinth, an enormous maze that seemed to stretch on endlessly, with walls that shifted and changed as they moved through it. The disorienting environment was compounded by a series of psychological traps, echoing voices that mimicked the team's own, distorted reflections that showed them their worst fears, and corridors that led them in circles, fraying their nerves and testing their patience. But the human team was not so easily broken. Naomi took the lead, using her keen, analytical mind to decipher the maze's patterns and find a path forward. Collins kept the team focused, encouraging them to push through the mental strain and keep moving, no matter how many times they had to backtrack or how hopeless the situation seemed. After what felt like hours, they finally emerged from the labyrinth, exhausted but intact. But there was no time to rest. The second trial began immediately, a brutal test of physical endurance. The team was thrust into a harsh desert landscape, where they had to cross a vast expanse of burning sand under a blazing sun, with no shade or shelter in sight. The heat was oppressive, sapping their strength with every step. But Marco, who had spent years working in some of the most extreme environments on Earth, knew how to keep them going. He used his knowledge of desert survival to ration their water, pace their movements, and find small, often invisible signs of relief. An outcropping of rocks that provided just enough shade to cool down, a hidden spring that offered a few precious drops of water. The trial was grueling, but the team's spirits remained high. They joked and encouraged each other even as the desert seemed to stretch on forever. They knew that the gauntlet was designed to break them, but they refused to let it win. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, They reached the end of the desert, but the gauntlet was not done with them yet. The third trial was a test of trust. Each member of the team was isolated, separated by thick walls of unbreakable material, and presented with a series of challenges they had to face alone. The catch? The challenges were designed to make them doubt the rest of the team. Collins was faced with a scenario where he had to choose between saving one team member or the others, an impossible decision designed to sow seeds of mistrust. Lena was confronted with false reports that the team had abandoned her, leaving her to face her fate alone. Naomi had to navigate a deadly obstacle course, with the constant, whispered suggestion that the others had already failed, and she was the only one left. But each member of the team remembered Collins' words from earlier, trust in each other, and that trust carried them through. Collins refused to make the choice, confident that his team would find a way to save everyone. Lena disregarded the reports, knowing they were false. Naomi kept pushing forward, believing that her teammates were still fighting alongside her, even if she couldn't see them. When they were finally reunited at the end of the trial, there were no words, just a shared look of understanding and relief. They had been tested to their limits, but they had come through stronger than ever. As they prepared for the final leg of the gauntlet, they knew that they had what it took to win. The galaxy had thrown everything it had at them: physical pain, psychological torment, and the temptation to turn against each other. But they had stood firm. They were more than just a team. They were a family. And together, they would see this through to the end. The showdown, facing the Zarthan champion. The human team stood at the edge of the final trial, their hearts pounding with anticipation and determination. The gauntlet had pushed them to their limits, but now they faced the ultimate test, a one-on-one showdown with the Zarthan champion, Rhaegar. The entire galaxy was watching, and the stakes had never been higher. The arena for the final challenge was unlike anything they had seen before. It was a massive open space, with platforms suspended in mid-air, surrounded by a swirling vortex of energy. The platforms shifted and rotated, creating a constantly changing battlefield. Below, a seemingly endless drop into a pit of darkness awaited anyone who lost their footing. The environment was designed to disorient, to test agility, strategy, and combat skills, all at once. As the team stepped into the arena, they were greeted by the roar of the crowd, an overwhelming cacophony of cheers, jeers, and alien languages. The spectators were from every corner of the galaxy, their eyes fixed on the humans who had defied all expectations by making it this far. Rhaegar, the Zarthan champion, stood on the opposite side of the arena. He was a towering figure, his muscles rippling beneath his ornate armor. His eyes burned with hatred and determination, a reflection of the humiliation he had endured at the hands of the humans. For him, this was not just a competition. It was a matter of pride, of honor. He had to prove that the Zarthans were the galaxy's true champions, and that the humans were nothing more than upstarts who had gotten lucky. Collins stepped forward, locking eyes with Rhaegar. There was no need for words. The challenge was clear. But before the duel could begin, Rhaegar spoke, his voice amplified by the arena's systems. "You've made it this far, humans," Rhaegar sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "But this is where your luck runs out. The galaxy will see that your victory was a fluke, that you are nothing compared to the might of the Zarthans." Collins remained calm, his expression unchanging. "We've faced worse than you, Rhaegar. We didn't come this far just to lose. This isn't about luck. It's about heart, about fighting for something bigger than ourselves. And that's why we'll win." With that, the duel began. Rhaegar moved with blinding speed, leaping from platform to platform with the grace of a predator. He unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each one aimed with deadly precision. Collins barely had time to react, diving and rolling to avoid the attacks, his own pulse rifle spitting return fire. The platforms shifted beneath their feet, forcing both combatants to adapt on the fly. Rhaegar used his superior strength to his advantage, slamming his fist into the ground and sending shockwaves through the arena, destabilizing the platforms and forcing Collins to scramble for balance. But Collins was no stranger to adversity. He had fought in the harshest environments Earth had to offer, and he knew how to think on his feet. He used the platform's shifting motion to his advantage, ducking and weaving between them, using the environment as cover and leveraging the terrain to outmaneuver Reger. Reger's frustration grew with each missed strike, his attacks becoming more frenzied, more reckless. He launched himself at Collins, closing the distance and engaging in close combat. The two exchanged blows, their movements a blur of fists, feet, and weapon strikes. Reger's brute strength was matched by Collins' agility and precision, each strike countered with a well-timed dodge or parry. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was not just a physical contest. It was a battle of wills. Both fighters were exhausted, their bodies pushed to the limit, but neither was willing to give in. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, their roars echoing through the arena, but the combatants heard nothing but the pounding of their own hearts and the sound of their labored breathing. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the moment of truth arrived. Reger, in a desperate move, lunged at Collins, aiming to knock him off the platform and into the abyss below. But Collins, seeing the opening, sidestepped at the last second, grabbing Reger's arm and using his own momentum against him. With a swift, calculated move, Collins flipped Reger over his shoulder and sent him hurtling towards the edge of the platform. Reger scrambled to regain his balance, but it was too late. His feet slipped, and with a roar of frustration, he plummeted into the darkness below. The arena fell silent, the only sound the heavy breathing of the victorious human. Collins stood at the edge of the platform, looking down into the void where Reger had disappeared. He had won, but the victory felt bittersweet. This wasn't just about proving humanity's strength, it was about surviving in a galaxy that had constantly underestimated them. The silence was broken by the sound of the crowd erupting into cheers and applause. The human team had done the impossible. They had beaten the galaxy's best, and they had done it together. As the team regrouped, they were greeted by the sight of the Galactic Council members approaching. There was no longer any contempt or derision in their eyes, only respect and perhaps a hint of fear. The humans had proven themselves in the most definitive way possible, but Collins knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and their victory in the games was just a small step in a much larger journey. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of, but there were still countless challenges ahead. And as they looked out at the stars, they knew that they were ready to face whatever came next. The aftermath, humanity's new role. The aftermath of the final showdown reverberated across the galaxy. News of the humans' victory spread like wildfire, carried on the lips of every species and transmitted through every form of communication available. The Galactic Games had been a spectacle, but the outcome was something no one had anticipated. The underdog story of humanity, once mocked and underestimated, was now the talk of the cosmos. Collins and his team were hailed as heroes, but the weight of their victory was heavy. They had proven their mettle, but they had also made powerful enemies. The Zarthans, humiliated and furious, retreated to their homeworld, nursing their wounds and plotting their next move. But the humans had gained something far more valuable than just a victory. They had earned the respect of the galaxy's most powerful factions. The Galactic Council, once dismissive of humanity, now extended an olive branch. The humans were offered a seat on the council, a position of influence that could shape the future of the galaxy. It was an unprecedented offer, one that no species had received so quickly after proving themselves. But with this offer came great responsibility. Collins sat in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He was surrounded by the leaders of the most advanced and powerful species in the galaxy, each one a master of their domain. They looked to him not just as a peer, but as a potential ally or rival. The council chamber was a vast, circular room, its walls lined with intricate carvings and holographic displays depicting the history of the galaxy. The ceiling was a dome of transparent material, allowing a breathtaking view of the stars above. Each seat in the chamber was occupied by a representative of a different species, their forms as varied as the planets they hailed from. Some were humanoid, others were entirely alien in appearance, with forms that defied human understanding. The council leader, an elder of a species known for their wisdom and longevity, addressed Collins directly. Humanity has proven its worth in the arena, but the games are just that, a game. The real challenges lie ahead. Will your people rise to meet them? Collins met the leader's gaze with unwavering determination. We've faced challenges since the dawn of our existence, and we've always found a way to overcome them. We didn't ask for this responsibility, but we're ready to take it on. The leader nodded, satisfied with the response. Then let it be known that humanity is now a member of the Galactic Council. Your voice will be heard, your actions will be watched, and your decisions will shape the future of the galaxy. As Collins took his place among the other council members, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had come a long way from its humble beginnings on Earth. They had reached for the stars, and now they were part of a galactic community. But this new role brought with it a host of new challenges, political, social, and even military. They would have to navigate these waters carefully, balancing their newfound influence with the need to protect their home and their people. Back on Earth, the news of their victory and newfound status on the Council was met with celebrations. For the first time in history, humanity was not alone. They were part of something greater, something that extended beyond the confines of their solar system. But with this celebration came the realization that they were now a target. The galaxy was not a peaceful place, and there were those who would see humanity's rise as a threat. As the celebrations continued, Collins and his team began preparing for the challenges ahead. They knew that the Zarthans would not take their defeat lightly, and that other species might also see humanity as a rival. They had to be ready for anything. Naomi Oko, ever the strategist, began working on contingency plans. We need to strengthen our alliances, build up our defenses, and ensure that we're not caught off guard. The Zarthans are licking their wounds, but they'll strike back when they're ready. We have to be prepared. Marco Torres, still riding the high of their victory, was more optimistic. We've shown them what we're capable of. They won't dare challenge us again, not after what we did to Redger. But Collins knew better. We can't afford to be complacent. We've won a battle, not the war. The galaxy is watching us now, and we need to show them that we're not just strong. We're smart, too. The team set to work, using their newfound influence to forge alliances with other species, sharing technology and knowledge to build a network of allies who would stand with humanity in times of need. They also began a program to recruit and train new members for their team, individuals who could represent humanity in future conflicts and negotiations. As the weeks turned into months, humanity's position in the galaxy solidified. They became known not just for their strength, but for their ingenuity, resilience, and determination. The other species began to see them not as a threat, but as a valuable ally, one that could be trusted to stand firm in the face of adversity. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. The Zarthans were quiet, too quiet. Rumors began to circulate of secret meetings, of alliances being formed in the shadows. Collins knew that it was only a matter of time before the next challenge arose, and he made sure that his team was ready for whatever came their way. One day, as Collins was reviewing reports from their allies, a message arrived, a distress signal from a distant outpost on the edge of known space. The outpost was under attack by an unknown force, and the situation was dire. Without hesitation, Collins ordered the team to mobilize. This was their chance to prove that humanity was not just a new player in the game, but a force to be reckoned with. As they boarded their ship and set course for the outpost, Collins felt a familiar sense of anticipation. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but he knew that they were ready. They had faced the best the galaxy had to offer, and they had come out on top. Now they would face this new threat head-on, and they would do so with the same determination and courage that had brought them this far. The stars stretched out before them, a reminder of the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Humanity had taken its first steps into the galactic arena, and there was no turning back now. They were ready for whatever challenges the universe threw at them, and they would face them together.